My Mark 7 Evolution is underutilizing its die stations for 223. In this video, we're going to fix that. Gavin Gu here from UltimateReloader.com. In this video, we're going to pick up where we left off in my last Mark 7 Evolution video. In that video, I guided you through the entire process, starting with the press set up to load 9mm, and we did all of the different steps, tips, tweaks, everything to get the press fundamentally set up for loading 223 or 5.56 ammunition. We left two stations empty, stations number 7 and 8. In station number 7, for this video, we're going to get a double alpha magnetic powder check set up and dialed in, and then in station number 8, I'm going to install the Mr. Bullet Feeder bullet feed system for rifle 223 in this particular case. You can see here I've already got everything unboxed. If you want to see the detailed unboxing and the detailed setup steps, you're going to want to check out my Mr. Bullet Feeder video for pistol. That was for 9mm, again on this Mark 7 Evolution press. So in this video, I'll only cover what's unique to this particular setup for 223. So I'm going to take a moment to get all of these pieces put together and to get things mounted on the press, and then I'll be back to show you the dialing in and fine-tuning process. The first couple things I took care of were first to get the mounting bracket, which is a pivoting assembly here for the Mr. Bullet Feeder bullet feed bowl put together. Just a couple anodized aluminum parts here with a clamping bolt on the one side, and then through bolts that are going to clamp this mounting bracket to the gearbox assembly on the bottom of the case feed bowl. Then it was time to look at the double alpha magnetic powder check. Last time I used this, it was basically drop it in and go, because this magnetic powder check comes set up for pistol. To convert it for use with rifle cartridges, a couple quick things we need to take care of. First is to remove the battery and control box assembly and slip that off the top, and then exchange the plungers. This is the longer plunger, which is used for pistol cartridges. The case mouth is going to push up on this to activate the micro switch, and then there's the rod and magnet assembly. And the rod actually has to get flipped here. The larger shoe for pistol calibers is going to be on the top. That goes down through the magnet, lock the magnet back down. Now we've got it converted over for rifle use. So we've got a different plunger, we've inverted the rod, and then we work the body of the die down in to the press until we see the micro switch lift into its activated position. If you listen really carefully, you can actually hear a slight clicking sound. When we've got that established, and again, this is with the tool head down, we can then adjust the height of the magnet so that it will produce a tone, an alert, if we have an incorrect powder charge, if it's either too high or too low. Obviously, if it's empty, it's also going to go off, but so that it doesn't go off when we've got the case all the way up into the die and we have the proper powder charge. So there's just two things you need to take care of here. Making sure that the plunger comes up off of its seat, activating the micro switch when the case is all the way up into the die, and that's with the tool head down here. And then we need to adjust the position of the magnet so that it produces an alert if we don't have a proper powder charge, but doesn't produce an alert if we do. It sounds complicated. It's actually easier than you would think. With the magnetic powder check die in place and adjusted to my satisfaction, it was then time to move my attention to the rest of the setup steps for the Mr. Bullet Feeder 223 bullet feed system. I took the bullet feed bowl and dropped that onto the case feed bowl. It just clamps to the case feed bowl, which is nice. We don't have a separate pedestal or press mount or anything like that. It doesn't take up extra space. That's a great minimalist design in that aspect. Then we move on to the dropper assembly, which has a die at the bottom. I put a case in the bullet feed station, lowered the tool head all the way down, and screwed in the dropper feed die. At this point, you want to load the drop tube with about 5 to 10 bullets and screw that die in until you see the entire column of bullets drop 1 bullet height. You then add an additional quarter turn of turn in, that's lowering the die, and tighten the lock nut. This dropper is now set up. With the dropper assembly installed and adjusted, we can now turn our attention to the output adapter for the case feed bowl and the lead spring assembly. There's a little slot cut in the bottom of the output adapter that the entire assembly plugs right up into the case feed bowl. There's a single screw that secures that in place. The slot allows debris to fall free instead of clogging up the lead spring assembly. Now, what's interesting about this press, also true of the 1050, is that since the entire tool head moves up and down with the dies, we have a tensioned spring when the tool head is at the bottom, and we have a relaxed spring when it's brought back up to the top. So there's a bit of optimizing we have to do here to the spring length so that we don't have too much tension pulling up on the dropper when the tool head is in its lower position, and so that bullets won't collect in the S of the relaxed spring when the tool head is up at the top position. So I took this adapter for the dropper, I unscrewed it, I shortened the spring so that we have just not quite tension here when the tool head is at the bottom of its stroke, reassembled that, tightened the set screw, and while I was over here, I also connected the two electrical connectors for the shut-off switch, because when this is running, it's going to fill up the drop tube here, and when it gets to a sufficient height, it's going to shut that off automatically. At this point, we can move up to the feed bowl. There's a few things we need to look at up here. There's the flip ramp, the nose guide, and then the angle of the bowl. Now, when I first turned this on, I had bullets kind of spilling out, and things were kind of, not adjusted properly. This is on a per bullet basis. The length, the profile of the bullet, the weight of the bullet, and so on and so forth will affect how it behaves when it's collated. So I had to make adjustments to all three of those different criteria in order to get things to run completely smooth, and now they are. So now we're ready to move on to full progressive loading with the Evolution, utilizing all of the stations I'm going to for this particular cartridge. So I've got the press completely run up, everything has been validated, and now every time we pull the handle, we're going to get a completed cartridge of 223. And you'll see it goes really fast at this point. Now we've got things dialed in. This is an absolutely awesome setup for 223. I can't wait to shoot this ammo. So I hope you enjoyed this video on getting 223 and 5.56 completely dialed in with the powder check, with the bullet feed system on the 10 station Mark 7 Evolution press. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also, I'd love to know what you think about this press, how you load 223. Drop a comment and we'll start a discussion. If you have specific questions about this setup, Mr. Bullet Feeder, Mark 7 Evolution, feel free to ask that question. I'll see if I can answer it. Perhaps the community will as well. Also, make sure you're subscribed with notifications because we've got a lot more awesome related 223 content. We've got the Progressive Press Shootout that's coming up this fall 2020. Lots of really cool stuff happening. Also, down in that video description, first link to a more detailed article. I'm on Patreon. I've got Ultimate Reloader shirts at the Ultimate Reloader store. Thank you for watching. Until next time, happy shooting and happy reloading.